Hey y'all, I'm Jordan with AviNation. We're here at SUNnFUN 2025 doing TramTalk, and I wanted to interview our tram driver. I've been talking to him. He has a lot of great stories, a lot of good insight. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to let you introduce yourself.
Well, my name is Corky actually Harrison,
Okay.
and I live in New Smyrna, and I'm a Floridian.
So I want to hear your volunteer honesty. How did you get the idea to volunteer for SUNnFUN?
Well, I've been going to air shows all my life, so I came to Sun and Fun quite a few times and decided that they needed more volunteers, and I just volunteered.
And what's it like volunteering for SUNnFUN? Because I just think this is one of the greatest air shows for me personally. I might be biased, but I'm sure you would agree.
It's a lot of fun. You get to meet a lot of people, get to talk to a lot of people. Everybody has a story.
For sure, I definitely agree with that. And you have a really cool one. So why don't you tell us, how did you get into aviation in the first place?
Well, I'm really not in aviation. I'm just of aviation. So my father was a pilot, and he taught all of us to fly. And over the years, I went in the Air Force. He was in the Air Force. And when I got out of the Air Force, I got married, and flying just went to the wayside because you're raising a family. But it's always been a love. That's all.
You were talking about some of the cool planes you've got to or fly. Sorry, guys, my brain's fried. Can you tell us about some of them that you've got to fly in?
Well, one of them's on the pole back here. That's that white T-33 that's on a pole. So when I was 16, I was with Civil Air Patrol, and we were flying out of Tyndall Air Force Base and having a annual meeting, and we were able to fly in the back seat of a T-33, and he was teaching us how to handle that scenario. And we also went through the high altitude chamber at Tyndall and all kinds of good stuff.
What's your most memorable story from being up in the sky in an airplane?
Memorable. There's so many. There's so many that I went to Israel one year and flying in I believe it was a C-118 that flew from Newfoundland to Germany and then down to Israel. And and it's a 4-engine recip, and it just hours and hours of just chugging along. And then I went to Ireland just a few years ago in a jet, and wasn't hours at all. It was just zip over and zip back. So the differences in aviation and what's occurred over a very short period of time.
For sure, and I think you have a lot of good advice too. So I just want to talk about what advice would you give to younger people in aviation, because you've seen so much in aviation. You've had some really cool experiences just from talking to you. What advice would you give someone who's younger?
Well, I think that a lot of people look at aviation and they're afraid. They don't have the qualifications. They can't learn that. It's too hard for them. But I would say first and foremost, find something that you like to do. And if it has to do with aviation, then find that little niche in there. I told a story this morning that I have a young man that came to me when I was a teacher at a Baptist church, and he was a mechanic. He loved being a mechanic for cars, but he couldn't make any money at it. He was always dirty. His parents didn't like him being dirty. His girlfriend didn't like him being dirty. So I just mentioned to him one day as we were talking, I said, why don't you look into aviation mechanics? And he did, and he got his AMP, and now he owns a very large jet company in Atlanta.
That is really cool that happened.
And that was 50 years ago.
Okay, so you just start touching people's lives left and right? And you were telling me a cool story. I kind of want to tell other people about this. We were talking about a female pilot that you knew, and it was really cool. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. She actually was living next door to us on the lake, my wife and I, and she was recently retired from the Navy. And when she fell in love with aviation, she was wanted to go to college, and she went to the Coast Guard Academy. And when she graduated from Coast Guard Academy, she was allowed to go to any service that she wanted to go to, and she chose the Navy. And as she went through flight school, got her right to fly and everything, they were giving them choices of flying jets or flying other aircraft of similar types and dissimilar types. And one of her friends who was already a retiring Navy wave, pulled her aside and said, "Look, if you want to fly jets, they're the carriers. But if you want to fly and have fun, and you don't want to go to the carriers, you want to fly recips, and that's to supply the aircraft. You don't have to stay on the ship or anything else." So she did that, and then during her career with the Navy, she also flew with NOAA, and she also flew for NASA for a while, and the Hurricane Hunters. And when she retired, she got a job with UPS.
I think it's so cool how you can do multiple different things in aviation. Like she's got to have all these experiences,
Oh,
but
yes.
started with this school and now look where she's at. I think
Oh,
it's
yes.
really cool and
Oh, yes.
it's very special. What's your favorite part about the aviation community?
They're very friendly, very helpful. They feel like family. Everybody
Yes.
in the community, yes.
I always refer to aviation when there's people who aren't in it who ask me, they're like, how would you describe it? I always say a big family. You can meet someone for the first time, but if you have that passion, you have something to connect over. So I think that's really cool for sure. And then I want to end with a very fun question. What's been your favorite part of SUNnFUN so far?
Meeting everybody. Really is. Just being able to talk to everybody. I met so many people in the campgrounds next door to me. Never met them before. But by the time you leave here, you know everybody.
Yeah, I think it's really cool. And everyone has a different story, right?
Yes,
So
they
it's
do.
really cool to hear different people and like things you might have never thought of, and they're like, I experienced this. So I think there's something really special about that.
I would tell young people that just to because you say I can't do this one, I can do something else maybe. Don't ever drop it out of sight. Don't ever put it in a garbage can because it may come back. You pursue a portion of it and don't try and eat the apple all at one time. There's just pieces and parts. And when you're talking to older people, everybody used to be somebody and they still are somebody, but their stories get bigger. so, so it's interesting to talk to people and find out if they can help you or you can help them.
Yes, I agree so much with that. I think networking is just such a big thing. Well, thank you so much for joining us, and thank you for being our tram driver.
Thank you. I appreciate it and I enjoy it.